Hi everyone. I'm here with Dr. Judit Ries. She was my mentor for the NASA SEES program last year, and I'm so honored to have her here. Can you please introduce yourself and give us a short description of who you are?
As Siddhi said, my name is Judit Ries. Actually, my middle name is Györgyi, which usually gives a lot of trouble here. I have come to the United States 40 years ago to study in graduate school, and as life brought it, I actually got my degree here, and I stayed, and I have been working at the University of Texas since my graduation. I worked on lunar laser ranging at McDonald Observatory, where you basically shooting laser at the moon and time it, and from that you can learn a lot, not just how far the moon very precisely, but you can actually learn about the orbit, the rotation of the moon itself. Right now, McDonald is not doing that because the laser got old and the new one didn't arrive yet. It doesn't matter. After that, I actually got involved in observing near-Earth asteroids. These are small bodies, asteroids, as you know what they are, and they have a chance to come close to Earth and eventually collide with it. And that's a program which started in 1995, and I've been doing it since then. First, I started on the 30-inch telescope, which is kind of small but has a beautiful wide field. So even if you don't know the orbit precisely, you have a good chance that the asteroid is on it. And later, when the brighter ones were pretty much all discovered, I moved onto the 82-inch telescope, which has a smaller field, but it's really fast. That is much larger than the other ones. I need shorter exposures, and I continued my work there. In addition to doing scientific observations, I actually worked a lot with Margaret Baggio, whom Siddhi knows very well. She's the one who is the leader of the SEES Internship program, and we started to work together in 2000 doing work with teachers. That is, we were trying to teach or prepare teachers for their science, elementary school and high school teachers, how to teach some scientific concepts, which they thought is kind of hard, but they had to teach it anyway because it was in the requirements. And that involved going all over Texas with our equipment and talking to teachers. And right now, I'm still working with Margaret on the SEES internship. We have some students this year also, and we hope we'll have a few more years out of this program. I'm also involved with I almost forgot. I actually, excuse me, I was actually teaching introductory astronomy at ACC and then at the University of Texas, which is astronomy for non-science majors. Maybe the science is not challenging to us, but I had to convince film, ballet, or literature majors that astronomy is important to learn, and I feel sometimes I succeeded. So I'm still involved with astronomy students. This summer, I'm teaching the observing course for these students. Well, that's about it.
Thank you so much. That's so interesting. Now for the first question. So can you please provide a bit of background on your field of specialty? So what exactly you do in astronomy?
So I mentioned that I looked at near-Earth asteroids. Technically, it's near-Earth objects because comets can actually come close to Earth too. What does it mean? As these bodies going around the sun, their orbit is influenced by the gravitational attraction of the other planets, and that means that their orbit can change. Maybe it was in a nice orbit. The asteroid was maybe on a nice orbit, but as Jupiter, Saturn, and the other large planets actually change configurations, their gravitational effect can move the asteroid off its original orbit. Now, if the asteroid is big, what does it mean big? A couple of 100 kilometers maybe, then this gravitational effect is the more important. However, there are collisions in the asteroid belt, and then you get little ones. And for these little ones, which is up to about half a kilometer or so, the effect of solar radiation, not radiation pressure, but solar radiation heating it, and then eventually the body releasing this radiation, can act as a thrust, and it can slowly move it closer and closer to the sun. That's the one we care about. It could move out too, but that's not very interesting for us. Now, if it comes in, it means that it can eventually cross the orbit of the Earth. Now, this motion is not very fast. It takes about millions of years to move from the asteroid belt, the inner edge of the asteroid belt toward the Earth orbit, but it does happen. So if it can cross Earth orbit, as time goes by, it means it can actually collide with Earth. Now, if it's small and we are being bombarded by dust-size or basketball-size objects quite often, we just don't notice because it disintegrates in the upper atmosphere. But if you get something large on the order of, let's say, 100 meters, 300 feet, then that actually can cause damage when it collides with Earth. And if it's basketball size, we don't worry about it. If it's a couple of 10 feet, like the one in 2013, which hit Earth near Chernobyl. Yes. Mm-hmm. Was it Chernobyl? Yes, it was Chernobyl. Anyway, so that can cause damage. Now, we still not worried too much. We could just tell people leave this city, or because we are not exactly sure where it hits, we can evacuate a larger area, but only if we do where it hits. And of course, Chernobyl was a surprise because we didn't know about this thing, that it will come. Now, so what's happening, which started in 1995, that we have survey programs which go out every night when it's possible, and they basically scan the sky, or as much of it as they can in one day, and they are looking for objects which are moving in between the stars. Now, some of them are asteroids we knew about, some of them are comets we knew about, some of them are satellites. And after we removed all these options, and this thing is not a known asteroid, then they send it to the Minor Planet Center, which actually compares with all the data they have, because it is possible something wasn't observed, and what we thought it would be, the orbit changed too much. But anyway, so after all that filtering, if it looks like it's a new one, then the Minor Planet Center puts it out on a website, which every observer in the world can access, and usually does. And then they start to do observations. Why? Because the first discovery is basically just a couple of observations, maybe spanning an hour or two. And from that, you don't get a very precise orbit. But if you find it again, do a measurement, and then obviously I won't calculate the orbit myself, but I send it to the Minor Planet Center, then this combined data can give you a much better understanding of the orbit. And it's not just that you know the orbit more precisely, but you can project it into the future more precisely and decide whether this is something we don't have to worry about, or this is something we better keep an eye on and either keep refining the orbit or figure out what to do when it hits. Now, we don't know any big ones, which is going to hit for the next, definitely for 50, but maybe 100 years. But because the orbit changes and we don't know the shape of the asteroid very precisely, which determines, which direction will it be moved by this non-gravitational effect, we need to keep an eye on it. So basically, that's what I was doing. And what I did, the technical part of it is, stars don't move with respect to each other certainly not during the night, and it takes decades or hundreds of years to actually notice that they do have their own motion. Now, but an asteroid moving around the sun, or, and it's not just the motion around the sun, but also the motion of the Earth. Also, the perspective makes it like its position on the sky changes. So basically what I did, I was doing 3 exposures in a row. There's a little bit of time in between because I have to let it move. And then after I got these exposures, I basically was using a program which was written, which started again in 1995, but it went through many iterations. So I had this program where I was able to figure out where should it be based on the predictions. And then I was basically blinking these images. Means, I just went through them in a loop. And I myself, because it was just a small field, was looking at it visually. It was kind of faster. Survey programs have automatic detection, which of course needs to be checked by humans. But I'm basically, while I was doing this, I was taking another exposure. So it wasn't so much of so it was a continuous operation.